Welcome back to another episode of the Good Advise Podcast. You're joining us for another great episode of how you can grow and scale your business. Now, wherever you are in your business, whether you're just starting out or maybe you've been going at it for a while, we're going to be giving you some good advice regardless today. And if you don't know a little bit about the podcast, I'm your host, Blake Benz. I started the podcast, I guess, almost 5 years ago. And I believe in doing good business that follows actionable, tangible advice. We don't do a lot of theory on this show. We give you the actual steps you need to actually grow your business. Now, one of the questions that I get quite often is, hey, how long is it going to take me to actually get to be successful? How long until I can turn my side hustle into my full-time gig? How long until my full-time gig actually becomes a sustainable, profit-generating machine? Whatever you want to call it, whatever label you want to put on it. Well, we have this great conversation we had with Trevor Crotts, who's the CEO at American Pet Works. Now, Trevor has an interesting perspective about how long it takes you to be successful, but I think in hindsight, this is absolutely one of my all-time favorite conversations with someone. Before we dive in, though, we have a word from one of the amazing businesses that sponsor the podcast. We'll be right back soon. You know that feeling at 10 o'clock at night when you finished a long day of work and you're trying to figure out all the financials of your business? Well, the good news is you don't have to be an expert in this space. You got to just know who is the expert to call. That person is Steve Lay with Equity Business Solutions, and he does business bookkeeping services better than anyone else I know. By not only helping you manage your books, he can also be the expert to help you understand your books. On top of that, he also handles payroll for businesses and really takes the worry and stress of managing all of these things so that you can focus on running your business well. So what are you waiting for? Stop wasting time trying to understand all these elements of your business. Call Steve Lay at Equity Business Solutions, and he'll show you the value beyond the numbers. Go to equitybusinesssolutionsllc.com to find out more.
All right, let's get down to the important stuff. I feel like this is a dangerous question because if the answer is no, we're going to wonder about you. Do you own any pets yourself?
It's a pretty silly question, really. I oftentimes, when people ask me if I like dogs, I kind of look at them funny. Yeah, I am also a crazy dog lover myself. I love when you said you obnoxiously, you didn't say obnoxiously, you said something about you obnoxiously share pictures of your dog with strangers. I think that's hilarious. Dog people are come in all shapes and forms, and I would be, slightly crazy dog person myself. I had my dog Buddy for the last 15 years. It recently passed away last year, but I still have, I have one of my dogs, Roxy, still with us, and she's getting up there in age too. But dogs are a big part of our lives. They're part of the family, and they're part of the reason why I do what I do.
So talk to me a little bit about Buddy Brands. I'd love to hear more about how that came about and really what you do on a day-to-day basis with it.
Yeah, sure. So Buddy Brand started as really an idea. We started it as Buddy Rest, and the whole catalyst for that was, growing up, I had this little poodle named Coco, who was the family dog, and I absolutely loved this dog. And she lived to be 16. And so when I got older and I was in my 20s, I was looking for a dog, single guy, looking for my own dog, and I wanted a poodle, but I thought maybe a little tiny toy poodle didn't have the machismo that I was looking for. So I ended up getting a Labradoodle, which is, he turned out to be actually a pretty big dog. With Labradoodles, you don't necessarily oftentimes know what you're going to get. And he turned out to be pretty big, at 85-pound Labradoodle. And I was really surprised on a routine visit to the vet to discover that big dogs like him weren't actually destined to live very long. And so, when his doctor, the veterinarian, told me that he was expected to live to be about 10, I thought, well, how could this be? I had a poodle growing up and she lived to 16. And ultimately what I discovered was that big dogs like Buddy just don't live that long. And the reason is they're euthanized disproportionately because of painful joint problems. Big dogs are just more prone to having hip dysplasia and joint problems, and they suffer from quality of life issues much earlier. And so at the time I discovered all this, I was working in the mattress industry. And so I'd seen firsthand how the right support system had really made a difference in the lives of people. And it got me thinking. So I started looking around there, and there was really nothing out there that would be what I would consider to be a supportive memory foam or orthopedic dog bed on the market. And so since there's nothing out there, we decided to create it. Me and my friend Jordan, who I brought in the early days, took the same science from the mattress industry and crossed it over into pets. And that's how we got started. We started with Buddy Rest, the world's best dog beds.
So just thinking about, like, we have a lot of people who listen to this podcast too. They're entrepreneurs. They're maybe even new business owners. Maybe they've been working their business for a while. I'm curious, and you've kind of just alluded to it already, as you were thinking about this business idea, what caused you to actually say with your partner, yeah, we're going to start this, rather than, I mean, surely at the time you thought you could just find a really quality bed for your dog. What was it that was in your mind that made you think, okay, no, what's out there isn't good enough. We need to create something of ourselves to help Buddy, essentially?
Well, it was a combination of things. First off, as most things are, really, it's not just a simple cut and dry, black and white answer. But part of it was I've had that entrepreneurial itch inside of me of just wanting to do something greater and bigger, and wanting to live a life of significance that made a difference and make an impact. And that's just kind of hard to do sometimes when you're stuck in a corporate world. And I think probably a lot of your listeners probably can relate to that. And so for me, I was looking for something. I wasn't just looking for a product to do something proactive for my dog and the millions of dogs out there destined to suffer from joint problems. That was absolutely part of it. But I was also looking at starting a business and creating a vehicle. For me, I was working in the mattress industry, and I had pioneered a way to, what I would say, sell the sleep, not the mattress. You don't sell a mattress how it feels when you walk into a mattress store and lay on it for 2 or 3 minutes. You sell them how they're going to feel when they wake up in the morning, what a good night's sleep is going to do to their attitude and their mental acuity, their ability to attack the day with positive energy. And I was looking for a way that I could take that same opportunity and cross it over into pets with the same philosophies. Is how do we get people to look at dog beds as not just a disposable thing that they buy once, wash a couple of times, and throw away, but something that's going to be a long-term part of the part of the home decor, and something that's going to be, more importantly, something that's better for the health of their animal, not just something about comfort that they can lay on, but something that's comfortable, supportive, will help relieve and alleviate pain as they get older. And that's really the catalyst for Buddy Rest. Is it allowed me to create something which is a business that also I can feel incredibly good about, with the impact that we make in the world. And that's really, I think, how we got going.
So talk to me a little bit about the journey. I mean, so you have this business idea, you start the business. Many of us can all relate to, I guess, the journey of entrepreneurship, where there's a bit of an agonizing pain to it of, this is really hard. This is really challenging to actually run this business. I know Buddy Brands just won the Brand of the Year award. You've built something that's really meaningful and pretty incredible. Talk to me a little bit about that journey. I mean, how does it feel in hindsight to be able to say, yeah, we have something that people actually like, they want to buy from us? Like, this is pretty cool. I mean, I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hindsight, it was definitely a really, really tough climb, and we're still, we still have our challenges we face on a daily basis. But it was really difficult in the beginning. I always like to tell people how we got started was, we made a prototype. So I had an upholstery company that was doing like car upholstery. They sewed this cover for us that I designed. And then we chopped down a human mattress into a couple different sections, and we created a bed. And we ended up taking it to this dog show that was locally here in Kansas. That was outside. It was like this outdoor gathering of dog people. And we hired a freelancer off of, I think, Elance at the time. I think now it's called Upwork. And we got a website built in Joomla, which is a mistake back then, but. The funny thing is here we are at the pet show with this big banner of our website, www. It was thebuddyrest.com, because somebody was squatting on our URL at the time. And we had one product. We didn't have anything to sell. We didn't really know what price it was. We just knew it was going to be expensive because it was a high dollar product. And then our website wasn't even working because our freelancer stopped responding to us before the show. So it was an absolute mess. I always like to tell people that, no, everybody wanted to buy. There was people that wanted to buy them, and there's nowhere to go. There's no website to go to. There's no products to sell. But what we did get from that is incredibly important. We got validation that the people they were into what we were doing. Dog people liked it. It resonated with them. And so, even though I'd heard a lot of people tell me no one's going to spend $50 or $100, $150 on a dog bed, I heard it from dog people from their mouth that, yeah, this is something that I'm interested in, and where can I buy it? And so that gave us the validation to move forward. So we got our website working, and we built some stock, and we built a couple more products, and we made a couple more sales, and then a couple more, and then we bootstrapped it. And I really dug deep into Google AdWords, and I learned how to do the AdWords and up my skills there. And so from there, it kind of just started rolling. We went to a trade show, and we got into some awesome products. We got into the Sky Mall catalog, which was a big break for us. We won a national shopping television. And it just kind of went from there. It was definitely an up and down process. And as everything always is, everybody thinks success looks like that hockey stick growth, when it really is just a long up and down, slowly over time, you start to accumulate some wins. But from the Buddy Rest side, we ended up finding ourselves a couple of years in to having a kind of a pretty cool little business. And it was something that even though it was a cool business, it was a pretty small market, right? It was high-end beds. Not everyone was into our, more affordable, higher quality product. And so we started looking at how can we be opportunistic, and how can we grab more market share. So through two different acquisitions over the last several years, we've built or bought our way into different parts of the market. So nowadays, Buddy Brands we started with Buddy Rest, but now we have Buddy Rest, Pup IQ, Natural Doggy, Tough Pup, and SitStay.com. They're all different. They all have a few different things about them. SitStay has actually been around since 1995. So it's the oldest website that's in e-commerce. One of the oldest websites out there. It's the oldest website selling products online. We like to joke is that all of our marketers here are actually at this point quite a bit younger than the website itself that they work on, which is pretty unusual. I mean, that's 10 years before YouTube came out, just to put it in perspective. So we now own that property, and then we also have all these different product lines. So Natural Doggy is all about naturally derived products, CBD, coconut oil, salmon oil that's sustainably caught, and then we have Pup IQ, which is all about intelligently designed products that make life easier. Then we have Tough Pup, which is all about tactically tough products for pets. But really the synergy between all of our product lines, and the reason why we do what we do with this multi-brand approach, is pretty simple when you think about it. Not all dog people are the same. And in this day and age, it's important that your marketing and your messaging on your site resonates with that particular avatar, that particular customer. And so for us, rather than rolling it all under one unified pet brand, it's important that we have different brands that speak to different folks about different things. And that's really how we got started, and how we built to where we are today, which is Buddy Brands, a collection of solution-based pet products. Everything is geared around solving anxiety, allergies, pain, and mobility. And that's what we focus our energy on.
So going back to the first part of your story, talking about this validation piece, which I think it's such a great story because the validation was really clear as you were talking about it. But I think a lot of us, we think validation is happening in our business. And yet when it's time to sell, people aren't showing up. The classic example is you're like, yeah, I need to validate this idea. So naturally I go to my mom and I say, hey, Mom, what do you think about this product? And she's like, oh, it's great. I love it. It's so good. But your mom's not your buyer, right? And so then you get it out there and you're like, well, what the heck? No one wants to buy this. Talk to me a little bit about, you have, and maybe it's not so much your take on this, but your advice you'd have for the listeners on knowing who to listen to get validation on your product. Because you said it yourself, you had people who were saying, oh, no one's going to spend money on that. No one's going to buy that. But they weren't your target customer. They weren't the people that you ultimately would end up selling to. How does the average business owner really validate their product and listen to the right people when they're trying to sell their product?
It seems to be a kind of a simple question, but I think it's pretty complex. There's a lot of layers to that. First off, you have to have some self-awareness about who you are and what you're good at, and when you're building your own product. because you have to kind of couple that self-awareness with some of that feedback you get from your natural market. That natural market, if I listened to everybody around me that said no one's going to spend over $100 on a dog bed, I wouldn't have gotten very far. We sell $500, $600, $700 dog beds every single day. Right now, as we're talking on this podcast, we're selling those beds. So there is a market for it. I would say the biggest validation is actually, letting the market speak. When somebody is willing to pay you money for your product, then you've got something. And it takes a lot of reiteration. It takes a lot of A/B testing and figuring out, is the price point right? Are the features the right thing? Are they solving the right problems? But ultimately, the market will tell you whether you have a winner or a loser. And I can tell you that, I know you have the Good Advice podcast. I don't necessarily really like to give advice. I like to share my experience because I've made a lot of mistakes over the years. I mean, I'm talking a ton of mistakes. And I think if people can learn anything from my mistakes, I think that there's value there. But, when it comes to validation, we just keep getting at bats, shots on goal. That's really what it takes is there's a lot of ideas that I've had or products I've developed that I thought were going to be, a home run, and they end up not being. And it's really disappointing when, you think you have lightning in a bottle and people just don't want to buy it, or it's the wrong price or whatever. But it's okay, because oftentimes, even though we expect to hit it over the fence every single time, sometimes you strike out. Sometimes, sometimes those singles and doubles are good too. For anybody who's listening to, I hope they don't hate sports analogies. I think I just threw 3 or 4 in there, but those singles or doubles are important too, because you can nickel and dime your way to success as well. And not everything has to be that overnight success, that next new product that everybody's going to want in mass retail. And so letting the market validate it is super important for us. We have a facility here. Everything that we do is made in the United States, which is fantastic. And we have one of the only full cut and sew facilities left in the United States. And we make a ton of different products, not only for ourselves, but we make products for other companies too. And I can tell you that for us is our tactical advantage, is that I can come up with an idea. I can put it with the way that the website creation and, the way the low entry to market, everything's democratized. So you can actually put the product out there in front of your customers, whether it be on Facebook or on your website, and you can ask them what they think. You can pre-sell it. You can ask them about price points. You can get feedback and validation. There's a million ways to do it. But I would say, 45 minutes later to your question, the best way to do it is the people that are going to be paying money, right? Just like you said, those potential buyers are what matters, not necessarily your mom, your dad, your cousin, or your friend. So, make the product, put it out there, and let the market tell you whether it's a win or a loss, and go from there. And then, regardless of what they tell you, reiterate it, make it better, scrap it, try something else, just keep going. That's really the name of the game.
How have you developed thick skin in this game? Obviously it seems like you're really open to customer feedback, and it feels like a lot of times people avoid that customer feedback process because they don't have thick skin. They're worried about their baby, their product getting totally criticized. You're talking about putting it out there, getting that customer feedback and letting it fuel the iterations of your products. What advice do you have for someone to develop that thick skin and ultimately to stay positive, right? To keep showing up every day?
Sure. It's a challenge. I mean, entrepreneurship is incredibly hard. I know people say that, but I have kind of a unique take on entrepreneurship. Oftentimes, everyone encourages entrepreneurship, which is fantastic in many respects. But I like to encourage entrepreneurship with cautious optimism. And give you like a quick example of how I feel about it. It's one thing to let's just say Aunt Betty. Aunt Betty has been making the best apple pies her whole life, and everybody's always told Aunt Betty she should be making apple pies. And so, Aunt Betty finally follows her dream, and everybody's pressured her into making these apple pies. Well, 2 years later, Aunt Betty loses her house because she took out her 3rd mortgage, and she absolutely hates making apple pies because that's all she ever does. And it's just not for her, right? I have seen many, many entrepreneurs come up around me, in front of me and behind me that just don't have the wherewithal. Oftentimes, the difference between somebody being successful or not is the person that's able to just not quit, the person that's able to keep going, the person that's able to pick themselves off the ground. And so when you say develop thick skin, I don't know how to develop thick skin. It thickens over time, obviously, but you have to really know yourself and know that if this is the game that you want to get into. In this day and age, people look at entrepreneurship like it's some sort of rock star profession. You know, you have all this Silicon Valley stuff and the Lamborghinis, and it's gone so Hollywood. But if you look at the truth behind it, the reality is there's a lot of poverty, sacrifice, there's depression, you know, there's mental health issues around you. You know, I've seen it all, and I've seen people go through tailspins, and I've seen people even die because of what entrepreneurship has done to their life. And so, gosh, I know I took it down a morbid street there, but you know, if it is for you, then it's spectacular. It opens the door to freedom and trust and significance and all sorts of amazing opportunities. But you have to be able to be aware that the good and the bad are both in the brochure, and you have to know what you sign up for before you get into it. And this is why I just like to say, hey, it's not for everyone. So you got to make sure you understand what you're signing up for.
Do you think today's entrepreneur is at a disadvantage in the sense of, you know, you've made a couple of comments about, you know, entrepreneurship's portrayed as this very sexy thing. And even on social media, and we talk about this almost all the time on the podcast, is how much when you get on social media, it is that highlight reel. People are posting like invoices that they just got paid. You know, someone's posting things like, yeah, just another, you know, 6-figure month, you know, just like these things that get constantly portrayed as very simple and easy success that's sort of overflowing. And it feels like the new entrepreneur or the small business owner, I wonder what it must be like to see those kinds of things, especially it being so different from reality. Talk to me a little bit about your take on how social media is affecting the modern day business owner.
Yeah, you know what? There's a couple things in there. First off, social media is not helping with the way it portrays. I think, like I said, going back to it, it's good to encourage and inspire others to start their own business, but there has to be that balance of caution. You know, no one's posting the shitty days, right? No one's posting the days where they have to go home and tell their wife that they took out a second mortgage behind her back because they knew there was no way that she would sign off on it. I didn't do that, by the way. No one's posting the days when they can't afford to pay their employees, and you know they're feeling the burden of not only their family but their employees' families, and how are they gonna stay alive and keep people in business. And payroll is coming up tomorrow, and you don't have the money in the account to do it. You know, people don't post those things on social, so you have to take it with a grain of salt that they're posting their Lambos and whatnot. And that's the after effect, and that's not the typical success rate. You know, most businesses fail. I think it's 90-something% of businesses fail in the first 2 years, so you have to be prepared for that. You know, on the flip side of that, I would say that it's going back to your original question, that entrepreneurs in this day and age in 2021 have a massive tactical advantage. So I think from from the social media standpoint, I think you make a good point. But never before in history has information been so democratized, has the barrier to enter the market been so low. You know, nowadays you can create products, you can have products built online, you can make products overseas, you can start your own website in a couple minutes. You know, you have all of the access to the world's information at your fingertips. You know, the difference is 50 years ago they didn't have that. And nowadays, even though we have that, most people spend all their time watching Netflix and looking at cat videos, right? And instead of upgrading their skills and learning how they can build towards something. So I think if the young entrepreneur has the right attitude towards it, they absolutely have a massive, massive, massive benefit over any entrepreneur in the history of entrepreneurship. It's just up to them whether they can see it and utilize it or not.
Well, it's great advice. And it reminds me of, with we're still in this COVID season. And as challenging as COVID has been on a multitude of businesses, Simon Sinek put out a video last year that basically said, hey, this is an opportunity, as hard as it is, it's an opportunity to innovate and to, really adjust your product to what's happening in the market. And it feels like more and more the people who are able to be agile and innovate, they are the ones who are really at that advantage. So in talking about that, what's next for Buddy Brands? How are you guys innovating? What's the next steps for you guys? Can we get a little bit of a sneak peek as to, what are you guys working on for the next year or so?
Yeah, sure. So I think that's a great point. In 2020 being incredibly difficult for a lot of people, for most entrepreneurs, it was okay because entrepreneurs, we are adaptable. That adaptability is probably, I think, one of the top two or three, adjectives that you'd want to have. One of the characteristics you'd want to have in entrepreneurship is your ability to adapt and evolve. And so for entrepreneurship, I've seen so many different opportunities pop up in the last year. That's crazy. And so many new businesses start. We fortunately have been in the pet space and largely in e-commerce, direct to consumer. And so we were already well positioned for the pandemic, and we're very fortunate to be in the place that we are. For us, we have to continually evolve our product lines. When we started our business 10 years ago, there was nothing like our product out on the market, for example, on Buddy Rest. And now, every major mattress company has kind of followed our lead and is now trying to create pet beds out of their mattresses. And you've seen Amazon, there's direct consumer competition directly from Chinese factories. So there's literally factories building knockoffs of products and then selling them against the people that hire the factories online. And if you go to Amazon, you can see, a lot of different knockoffs of our product in general. And so what we do is we don't try to focus on patents, and we don't try to focus on because to be blunt, that doesn't bother the factories at all. If you have a patent on your product, it's not going to a good part of the world. So what's the strategy that we use is we use our strengths. What's our ability? What's our strengths? We have a competitive advantage in speed to market. We can innovate a product and bring it to market, overnight. We have a photography studio in our facility. We have a full laboratory. We have a full cut and sew facility. And so being able to bring product to market allows us to and innovate new products. So while everybody else is focused on,
I think the audio just cut off at the end.
Cut out there for a minute.
Yeah.
You there?
Yeah. So you said you have the studio, you have the lab. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Are we back?
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Yeah. So what I was saying, yep, I got you clear. So we've got the tactical advantages that we can move fast. You don't have to order a container load of product and then wait a couple months for it to arrive, and then hopefully it sells through, or you try to sell it through the third party discount channels. We can know right away whether our product's validated or not. We can put it on our websites. We can reach our customers. We can promote it. We can see what they're into, and we can keep going. So evolving your product, always innovating is incredibly important. What today, and not just your product, but your processes. What works today is not necessarily what's going to work tomorrow. So you have to be flexible and you have to be willing to change, and you can't fall in love with any particular strategy or product or technique. And so for us, a lot of what we're doing is on the higher end of products. We're looking at with Buddy Rest in particular, we have some new really high quality leather products that are coming out, handcrafted leather beds that have minute touches like, fully rubberized bottoms so they don't move around. Number 8 industrial zippers with, special zipper pulls so they don't scratch the floor. Adaptaloft fibers so it stays full and it's designed to last 10 to 15 years without flattening. Next level memory foam. We've got a mobility layer in these beds that actually help older dogs get in and out of bed. So it's one thing to provide a memory foam surface. Dogs can really benefit from it, but they have to be able to get in and out of it with ease. Otherwise, it's detrimental. And so like the little things that go into developing great products, we like to focus our innovation on and always trying to make the product better and better and better. And so you'll see a lot of cool, really high-end leather products coming out from us in the next couple of weeks, as well as other products that are designed to help soothe anxiety and allergies, itching, and pain and mobility. That's really what we focus our energy on, is real problems.
I love it. And I love the insight there on essentially not getting comfortable with your success, but always wanting to continue to pivot and adapt and produce more and more different things. We're running out of time. Trevor, I want you to tell me, what can people do if they want to buy from you? What's the best website for them to go to for that? And then also, if people want to just connect with you personally and just to follow what you're doing in the entrepreneurial world, what does it look like for people to do that?
Yeah, sure. You can definitely find our products at buddyrest.com if you want to look at one of our dog beds, or naturaldoggie, DOGGIE.com if you want to look at our naturally derived products and our CBD. You can find me all over the place, but I like to spend my time on Clubhouse. You can find me at Trevor-1 on Clubhouse if you're on there. LinkedIn, obviously, I'm available there. I'd love to connect with people. If you need help with any e-commerce related or product development or pet space, or just if you're struggling to sell products online, you can find me, and I'm happy to sit down and have a conversation with you. I do have an agency called Compel, and that's compelcommerce.com. And that's where we do a lot of our next level stuff that helps people, move the needle online, whether that's creating 3D assets, doing product photography, virtual product photography, e-commerce optimization strategies. We do it all. And so I'm definitely very accessible, and I'm here to help. One thing you mentioned, I'd like to mention is you were just talking about how success, you can't be comfortable with success. And it reminds me of this line that I'd love to leave people with, that I find something I oftentimes think about. And I don't know where I read it several years back, but it's the concept that success is rented, right? So you rent success. You don't own success. Success is rented, and you must get up every single day to pay your rent. And if you don't, you won't be successful. And so I would always encourage people to get up every day, pay that rent, do those little things, even little things that are tedious and frustrating. It's the sum of those that add up every single day that's going to spell your success for you. So definitely do the little things and pay that rent, because it's due every single day. But yeah, if people want to reach out to me, I'm happy to connect with them. I would love to have a conversation. And I really appreciate you having me on. This is an awesome podcast, and it's been a pleasure to be part of it.
Trevor, thanks for that advice at the end there. That's great. And absolutely, we appreciate you coming on the podcast today. Thank you so much. Hey, for our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget you need to subscribe or follow the podcast to keep getting good advice wherever you are. And also, I'm going to be I'll put Trevor's Clubhouse name, I'll put his LinkedIn, and I'll also put a couple of those websites down in the episode description below in case you want to check those things out. Hey, don't forget that we are on Patreon. If you love the podcast and you want to support the podcast, or even if you want to get your business talked about in the entry reel on our podcast, you can go to patreon.com/goodadvice. That's patreon.com/goodadvice to find out more information. And as always, we so appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you later. See ya.